Let's just say that I'm not a fan of getting slimy, really not a lot.
I don't know who they're
Raw, fish,
You will find ceremonies there. Okay, yeah, I'll take those. All right. They can do it. Okay. Okay.
And the vegetables.
Yeah.
How can we define farming? Can they put in a little
Folks, I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Monday, May 8th County Council meeting. We will start off with an invocation by Pastor Matthew Ricks with the St. Charles Christian Church, Newtown, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Tim Baker. Please stand.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we are gathered in this place to make our part of the world better. We come to bring peace, joy, and love to all around us. However, you have also called us to bring your justice, justice that unites, justice that protects, justice that is selfless. These are just some of the things you've asked us to do, but they can be so hard to obtain. When we have our pride and our anger that gets in the way, it becomes difficult to do what we are called to do. So before we strive to do anything else tonight, we acknowledge our failures and our faults, and we ask our brothers and our sisters to forgive us, and may we also forgive them for any wrongs. We look at the work that is before this council tonight and all others. It is truly all important and significant work. I pray that they remember the marginalized, for that is where Jesus is found. Remind these people who are elected and all who work that they are here and are called to be leaders in our community. I ask that they set the standard for compassion and love toward all your children. Remind them the great lesson that Christ taught. The least shall be the greatest, and the first shall be the last. Let them lead by serving, and I pray that humility abounds in their hearts. Show us what this world can look like when we try to do all that you ask of us. Show us a place that is your kingdom, where you walk right beside us. And may tonight be just one more step on that holy journey for all of us here in St. Charles. We pray for all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Matt Swanson.
Here, ma'am.
Councilmember Joe Brazel.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Elam.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Hollander.
Here.
Councilmember Dave Hammond.
here?
Councilmember Nancy Schneider.
Here.
Councilmember Tim Baker.
Here.
Okay. We will begin with public comments. Just a reminder that if you wish to speak, make sure you fill out a speaker's card. In general, we normally allow 3 speakers for and 3 speakers against on any particular topic. I think tonight we have a little bit more interest in one particular topic, so we'll go ahead and extend that to allow a number of speakers more than that for that particular issue. So, Brent?
Lawrence Crane, Bill 5167.
Okay.
Because
We have.
They have it.
Yeah, we've got.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lawrence Crane. My wife and I have filed written objections listing 5 reasons not to spot rezone the property across from our Highway 94 home. And at your April 11th meeting, I offered a map, this map here, to illustrate some of the negative impacts of such rezoning on us and our neighbors. However, this evening, I'd like to focus on the bigger picture. both geographically and also from the viewpoint of this council. As you know, the professional staff of the County Zoning Commission, and I quote, recommends denial of the zoning change due to the 2030 master plan indicating future rural residential uses of this location and adjacent properties. My wife and I, being one of those adjacent properties, fully agree. After such a rezoning, this council, and in fact any future councils, would retain little control over how that commercial plot then gets used. The meat market notion really sounds benign, and in its place, I think it's a good idea. But a store in this location could easily add packaged liquors, it could add a smoke and vape shop, maybe even a marijuana dispensary. Basically, any legal commercial property could be used for that. And I don't think the current applicants would want to do that, but any future owners of this property would be pretty much fair game. Our neighbors have also raised some serious traffic safety concerns. We've been here for 33 years. I've seen a couple of deaths on that strip of road, several maimings. Matter of fact, just a couple of years ago, a gentleman in a Porsche 911 spent most of his time airborne as he crossed my property. He actually lived, but I don't know how. There's no traffic safety in the record that I'm aware of. No traffic safety report for the proposed rezoning. Besides, there's simply no need to spot rezone here. Just a mile down Highway 94 and within Defiance, there are commercial properties, including some vacant ones. Citing the business there would not require any spot rezoning like they're asking for here. Alternatively, if you go up to Highway D, Double D intersection, there are also commercial properties. And so it could be spotted up there just as easily. Finally, I'd like to point out, and as I told you in the email I sent you, I spoke to my brother-in-law, the city council member. If you override a master plan to spot this tiny lot to permit this particular siting, especially if you do it against our strong express community oppositions and without the traffic study, that will basically put a dagger in the heart of the community master plan. It might invite in litigation also. I therefore ask that you vote against this particular bill.
Thanks.
Respect our neighborhood opposition,
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
and thank you very much.
Brent?
Tiffany Winkler.
Would you like to leave this up?
You can have it.
Yeah, that's fine. You can leave it.
I'll leave it up so you can see the
Okay.
space.
Hello. I wrote my comments tonight so that I don't mess up like I did last time. All right, so instead of sounding like a broken record, because you guys have heard everything, I'm just going to kind of go with some of the fears and move from there. So we purchased the property at 2501 South Highway 94 last May. The tornado had taken the house down, and we saw that corner as being the cornerstone of our beautiful community and a chance to buy it up and make it beautiful. Our original plan for the property is still the same today. We want to do a commercial farm stand on the property where we sell our local bred and raised Angus and Wagyu. And the vehicle to get to that point has changed and evolved as we navigate the rules and laws within the community. Nevertheless, the plan to sell our meat to the public will prevail, but this route will be the most aesthetically good route to go. As you already know, so that I don't sound like a broken record, we've been working with planning and zoning for quite some time before coming to the county council for your final consideration. Although the paperwork says they do not recommend, after the meeting that we had with P&Z, the vote was unanimous to vote a yes, after one vote changed from a no to a yes. We have in place the plans for the project, barriers to add back to the property to give immediate neighbors more privacy. And although and downward lighting, although our hours of operation don't intend to go into the dark. There were several things that were asked of us to be accomplished before presenting to either of the boards, and we completed all of that, and they were satisfied. And then I just wanted to touch on the 2030 master plan of what I read. Our way of life fits perfectly with what is now and what we wish to do with this additional piece of property. As it reads on page 54, in regards to the future land use, appropriate primary uses, farming and agricultural relates to and includes raising animals, breeding and boarding facilities. Appropriate secondary uses, agricultural tourism businesses such as wineries and other tourist businesses that promote tourism subject to the strict site planning and agricultural design standards that blends in with the development into the rural and agriculture character of the area. So is this thing on?
It-
I only
it
have
will.
30
It'll come up.
seconds. So here's your ag tourism, and here is the property. It falls right in with the ag tourism, and this farm stand goes with the 2030 master plan. So not only are we living by the standards now, but these future uses for this property, they go right along with it. Here's the area again. This is all the commercial businesses that are already in place right around the area, which is right here. These are already commercial, and this is not even getting into Defiance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Brent?
Kelly Roth.
Good evening. I'm Kelly Roth, and from 2546 South Highway 94. I'm speaking on behalf of my dad and the other neighbors who are unable to attend this meeting. As previously presented in the April 10th meeting, we are opposed to the rezoning of this property to C1. This is a residential neighborhood of families consisting of legacy farms and residences owned by hardworking families who have sacrificed what they have, faithfully served our country in wars, Korean, Vietnam, and Middle East, or who are currently active duty. They have been model citizens, and they want to continue to live in their neighborhood in peace, privacy, and without interference of commercial development in their immediate areas of their home. They have earned these rights and deserve the right to live in the manner of their expectations. These families in this neighborhood purposely purchased their properties for these attributes and do not want any rezoning of commercial development. Our neighborhood also falls within the area of the agriculture tourism land use, which is to protect the special character of the area. Rezoning of the property does not support the land use, nor the desires of the directly impacted residents. Planning and zoning appeared to have ignored the land use plan and went against staff's recommendation to deny the application. We feel that planning and zoning voted based on applicants' plans and not based on what rezoning could do to our neighborhood or Southwest St. Charles County, nor its impact to such decision. We disagree with planning and zoning and we are requesting a vote of no rezoning because we do not want commercial development in our immediate neighborhood, whether it's the applicant's business or someone else's business. It is not appropriate for the neighborhood or for Southwest St. Charles County. Commercial rezoning also goes against the agricultural tourism land use plan, as there's no way to buffer the business from the residential homes as is required. The property is too small for ag tourism, and this commercial rezoning violates the St. Charles County Master Plan, and it will negatively impact this neighborhood with additional noise, car and pedestrian traffic, pollution, decreased property values, disruptions caused by businesses. Again, commercial rezoning is not proper for this neighborhood, and applicants should consider another location. Folks that had previously spoken at meetings were not in the impacted area. They are friends and neighbors and business associates of the applicants, which is great, but it does not impact them directly as it does to the adjacent homeowners. Lastly, the applicant said they'd place a bull on the property. Bring it on, we'll take it. That's what was there before when we first moved there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Brent?
Jennifer Ham.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Ham, and I live on South Highway 94, about a mile and a half from this location. I've lived in Defiance my whole life. This is my hometown. I have watched it develop through the years. My home sits in the middle of commercial. I have 2 bars. I have a bike shop. I have a winery. I have B&Bs all surrounding around me and other farm locations that are right there in town behind me. We have B&Bs and that. It's not ruining our location. It fits into the tourism plan, what they're bringing in. We would rather see commercial, small businesses than huge residential ones. And I am the president of the DMA, Defiance Merchants Association. I've been contacted by several people. They wanted me to start a petition in favor of this, which I did. I think results have been sent to you guys. We had 437 electronic signatures. We also have 40 signatures on this one, and I know there's a couple other petitions out there that are people for it. I was also contacted that Miss Bland was going around with a petition, and I was contacted and stated that some people felt bullied by her residents if they didn't sign her petition. I was also sent multiple screenshots of complaints and reviews, negative reviews, anything and everything if things were not done the way she wanted them done. She's lived here for 13 years. She's had residents in Michigan, in Florida, and here. Screenshots that I were sent, I was kind of blown away by because there's complaints in everywhere she's lived. She's fought against people trying to get things. Their subdivision, do you think all of us wanted it? No, but it came in. The quarry up the street, there's screenshots of her complaining about them blasting in that. It's been there for 50-something years. She's been there for 13. So this isn't always what everybody wants. But the community is gonna grow, and we would rather see it grow with small businesses, things that benefit our community to where we can go and buy meat. We can go and buy farm things, everything right there together, versus having gas stations, cell towers, things like that. I have sat and talked with the Winklers. That is not what their plan is. Their plan is to keep it community. They're about 4-H, putting their kids in that. It's about the farm life. That's what they're trying to bring to the table for everyone in the community. So I ask that all of you take the time to consider everyone around you, not just the small amount of people.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Tracy Piper.
Hello. Hi, my name's Tracy Pieper, and I live less than 1,000 feet from the Winkler's property. I am not here to speak against their idea of a farm store to sell their meat. I am against this property being zoned commercial. If the Winklers suggest that without this farm they have no outlet to sell, that is not true. They sell most recently at the New Melly Food Co-op store, and I understand that the Winklers are trying to create something similar to the New Melly Co-op, but the co-op went it about the correct way. They found a property that was already zoned commercial. They did not buy a residential piece of land at residential pricing and try to have it rezoned commercial. The fact that the Winklers bought this land without doing their homework on what would be required to build a farm store to sell their meat. They thought they would have the right to buy the land, pop up a tent, and immediately start selling. If you rezone the property commercial, will they also get an exemption to build a septic system large enough for the commercial building on this small piece of land? This property is grandfathered in to rebuild residential, but it is not grandfathered in commercial, allowing them to build whatever they want. The Winklers should not just assume that they can buy up land and do whatever they want with it because of who they're friends with. This is not a popularity contest. The residential homeowners that live within 1,000 feet have done their part to let you know that they do not want this land rezoned commercial by signing the formal protest sheets, having them notarized, and submitting them to you. Many of us did this months ago. We did not, last minute, draft up a poorly written petition that anyone living anywhere could sign. People can continue to buy their meat without you guys rezoning this commercial. They can go to the New Meli Co-op, the Farmers Market, Sorensen Pop-Up Market, meet them at the back of their car at the Double D Market, swing by their house, as all of their friends and people that buy from them already do. To the woman last meeting who said that the area is not residential, well, we who live there will beg to differ. The majority of the landowners that have lived there since the 70s. My neighborhood has been there for over 20 years. The property should not be rezoned commercial. It is, in fact, dead center of homes. As far as I can see, homes, not businesses. Last meeting, Dan Tripp said the property is at entrance of Defiance. No, it's not. The Welcome to Defiance sign is almost a mile further down the road, at the Defiance Ridge Vineyards. Appropriately placed as you enter the area of Defiance where there's restaurants, bars, lodging, post office. This is where the Winklers should build their business, among the other commercial businesses. Or as I mentioned last meeting, build your farm on your farmland less than a half a mile down the road where your cows live. You wouldn't need the land rezone, which is what you claim you want to avoid if at all possible. Please vote against rezoning this property commercial. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Brett?
Joe Kester.
Mr. Kester?
Good evening. My name's Joe Kester. I live in the affected zone, the 1,000 feet or whatever. They're right there, and I just wanted to speak in support of the Winklers. Many of us in Defiance, we cringe at the thought of more traffic and more noise. I'm on the front lines there. There are times you cannot hold a conversation outside on the porch because of Jake brakes, a parade of motorcycles, souped-up cars, dump trucks. People often use my driveway to turn around in, or worse, as a spot to stop due to overindulgence at the wineries. This is the present situation. This is already reality. We also cringe at the thought of becoming something like Highway K, filled with strip malls and chain stores. Many of us identify Defiance as a small town in a metro area where subdivisions dominate. We like having cottage industries and locally owned shops and that small town feel. I can think of few things more fundamental to a community than a local meat market. It's for this reason I support the Winklers. Continued develop west of us already means that we will see more and more cars and tourists without gaining much or any value at all. So stopping the Winklers would mean that we get everything that we don't want while blocking something of value to us all. Regarding zoning, how can we punish local folks because no exact zoning exists to fit their plans? This is our failure to address the nuance of such a family business in our county and not theirs. If we need new zoning ordinances to accommodate small local businesses, let us work together for that, or we will lose local input. We should stand up for the local businesses or over out-of-town corporate interests, or we'll lose local input and identity. State Highway 94 is clearly not a neighborhood road. Regularly, there are tractor trailers, military equipment, farm equipment, dump trucks, buses, and even blasting from the quarry that shakes the foundations everyone around. And the big players will continue to grow because of their economic power. So by blocking local residents, rest assured, we play into the hands of the large developers who will get their way with little or no regard for locals. This kind of growth means we all lose. I know where the Winklers live if an issue were to arise. This is what it means to be a town and not just another suburb devoid of local identity. Let's not lose out to the big players and fight local ownership, as I think that region calls for.
Thank you, sir. Brent?
Elizabeth Bland.
Ms. Bland?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Bland, and I live in Ridge Creek Estates in Defiance. This kind of is out my backyard. Two things of clarification. I've never lived in Florida, and as you can see from the P&Z meeting, it was not a unanimous vote. The first and most important thing I want to point out here is what's being voted on tonight is C1 zoning. We're not voting on their plans. This is C1 zoning and all of the possible uses that come under the C1 zoning. When staff reviewed it, and you've got that there, Their commentary about why this doesn't fit was spot on. The property is too small. We do allow ag tourism in the area. As Joe mentioned, but it's not a 5-acre parcel. This is a 1-acre parcel. It doesn't fall within the confines of ag tourism. Also, by rezoning this to commercial, they now fall under all of the buffers with commercial and the setbacks with commercial, which aren't what we require under ag tourism. So now this can be a building right on the road, right next to a home. And if for any reason this business doesn't make it, there's nothing that stops someone new coming in and buying it and putting in any of the approved uses under C1. And that's our big concern, is what could this property become? I work in commercial banking. We all know the percentage of small businesses that fail. If this small business fails and they sell this property, what's to stop something else to go in there that's not desirable? We have a master plan, and we need to stick by it. Why would we vote for this and go against our master plan? Because someone didn't do their due diligence when they bought this property. It's a 1-acre lot. When we heard about this last year, it took me one call to planning and zoning to find out that this wouldn't fly under the current zoning of ag tourism and that it needed to be a 5-acre parcel. So, you know, they went here and spent $90,000 residential prices, and now they want to have this zone commercial. And it is spot in the middle of all residential homes. The applicant doesn't want this by her home, as evidenced in the text Tracy read at the last meeting. She's buying up property along her home where she lives so it won't be developed, but yet she wants you to approve this zoning so she can move this down by where we all live. You'll also notice there has only been one person in the 1,000-foot range that has stood up and supported this, and he has a vested interest because he wants to put a wedding venue on his property. Imagine that. All of us now have a wedding venue behind our homes. So you'll notice there's overwhelming support against this from all of us, and you'll notice that by all of our notarized letters. The last thing is we'd like to ask Joe Brazel to recuse himself from this vote based on the fact that he is friends with the Winklers, and we feel that he is biased in his vote on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Brent?
Dave Simon.
Thank you. I'm Dave Simon. I've been in Defiance for about 8 years now. My family has been involved in the community since day one. Shortly thereafter, met Tiffany and Larry Winkler. Larry's been a volunteer for the Junior Vikings football program, helping to coach my son. And Tiffany has coached many aspiring cheerleaders in the community, including my daughter. Getting to know them over the years, they have proven that family and community are some of their highest priorities. As a former chef, their investment in top-tier Black Angus and recently Wagyu quickly intrigued me. The quality is absolutely far superior to any grocery store around, and I can attest that anybody that I've served this meat to has been amazed with the quality and flavor. Their knowledge to the industry is a blessing to have in our town. Their vision to have their locally bred and raised product, as well as many other locally raised products, has amazed me. Their plans to have this cornerstone entering Defiance is simply awesome. This is not just another Dollar General. This market is a destination for anybody that will have stopped in. The property at F and 94 is about a mile from my house. Having the opportunity to buy local top-tier restaurant quality products truly excites me. Additionally, having several children entering the workforce, many should be excited about the additional jobs that the market could offer. We know that this area continues to be developed. Knowing that it is in the hands of Larry and Tiff, and knowing their vision and devotion to the community, rest assured you will soon become a family member and a customer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Brent?
Okay, that was 4 on
Okay.
the pro and cons. So Corey Terry.
Hello, everybody. I have also lived out in the Defiance, New Melly area for 40 years now, and I thought I had an idea what I wanted to get across, but after hearing a lot of this up here, it's gone a much different direction. I hear noise, I hear traffic, I hear safety, I hear peace and quiet from people who have built homes a quarter of a mile away from a quarry that does blasting, that has dump trucks, Jake breaks all day, every day, sun up, sundown. They knew what they were getting into long before this ever popped up. Okay, that is the second busiest intersection in that community, and to sit here and say this little 1 acre plot is going to take away from that, it's absurd. There's a winery a quarter of a mile down the road. There's a man buying up the whole freaking county, putting in Caddyshack 2 out there, and they're worried about a 1 acre plot that's going to sell a little bit of meat. It's not a new business. They own the business. The business is successful already. They're looking for a new avenue. To say it's not by their home, their house is a quarter mile away. You can see it in the winter without leaves from the top of the hill. So I'm hearing a lot of false things. And to say, you know, Joe's a friend and shouldn't be able to vote. We're all friends out there. Anybody who's been out there a long time, we're all friends. And there's times where we hate each other too. But the next week, we're all friends again. That's how it is. It's a great community. As somebody's already stated, this is one of the few things recently that is a positive. And if you look right up the road at the Bavarian Smokehouse, that's been there for 25, 30 years now, I live 1.1 mile from there, and I have never heard a noise complaint come from that place. I have never seen a traffic jam come out of that place. They serve liquor. One little cooler with some cans of beers and some wine. So anybody that's against it for the reasons I've heard should be ashamed of themselves. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, sir.
Karen Lyons.
Hi, I'm Karen Lyons. I live in the, off of Highway F in the neighborhood of the stand. I think everything that I had to say has been said. I do support this stand. I think it's a great community venue that would enhance the area, not decline and take away from it. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Peter Rook.
Peter.
Good evening. Hi. I live about, I don't know, maybe a quarter of a mile from there. I moved to Defiance, my wife and I, about 6 years ago. We love it down there. And I can't say enough about Joe's speech. I think, Joe, right? Yeah. I think he summed it perfectly. You know, the opportunity for local growers to have a spot to sell their goods and wares is great for the community, not only from a commerce standpoint, but a healthy food eats standpoint. And I think that's where everybody's going, you know, farm to table, and I think that would be really supported in the area, and I think it'd be good for the growth. It's a small business. I think the lady that mentioned it could be zoned anything, I think she kind of insulted you guys, because don't you guys approve what businesses go in there somehow, some way in the system? So you're self-disciplined. I believe you probably wouldn't, if they sold it, that you wouldn't zone it into something that would be harmful for the community, especially with Joe being on the board. But anyways, I wanted to support the effort, and I think it's going to help the community, and it's going to help the family grow, and it'll help all our healthy hearts.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So next is topics, Bill 5177, Sean Lesson.
Okay, Sean. Brad, can you take that down? I can't see the speakers here.
Hi, I'm Sean Leslie with,
He's going to move that. That's fine.
Thank you.
Go.
Sean Leslie with TR Hughes, and I'm only here to answer any questions that the board may have.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And Arnie Diedhoff.
Mr. Diedhoff.
Don't forget your camera.
Good evening, members of council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate. And the first thing I'd like to address is Bill number 5175. And I looked to the administration again a month ago. I asked you to work with O'Fallon and try to consolidate the Community Development Block Grant Program. O'Fallon has $135,000 in administrative salaries, and I was wondering if we made any headway. So we need a true urban county plan, and O'Fallon is the last holdout. I would request that the county auditor, Brent Statler, who is to my left, who you're right, who is appointed by the county council, do a in-depth audit of the county prosecuting attorney's office by offering a clean slate without doubt for the appointed prosecutor, Joe McCullough, who is appointed by this council, confirming the appointment of the county executive at the last meeting. I only think it's only proper. There's been questions in the community about finances and about other subjects in the county prosecutor, and I think it's overdue. Everybody has gotten their county assessment from the county auditor, and you're looking at 25 to 30% across the board countywide, which results in $500 to $2,000 in additional taxes. Now, there is some good news for senior citizens 65 years of age or older. The Senate Bill 190 passed the Senate a few weeks ago and also passed the House today on third read. It'll be a constitution question if signed by the governor, put on the ballot in November of 2025. And it'll be not requiring assessment or payment of real estate taxes for anybody 65 years of age or older. Now, I requested 2 weeks ago, or I received on April 17th, a letter from Roy O'Sullivan, the $175,000 county councilor sitting over to my right, your left, and his $30,000 in benefits and lifetime pension. And he wants to charge $125,000.52, 2.5 hours at a rate of $50 an hour, which is in violation of Chapter 610, which is not the lowest employee hourly pay. And it's a ridiculous hostage holding of information, the lobbyist information from Tom Dempsey, First Capital Advisors, Mike Gibbons, Gibbon Workman LLC, that this council pays $250,000 in taxpayer money. And it's pathetic that the response of holding public documents hostage for money, shame on Mr. O'Sullivan. You know, do you even live in St. Charles County, Mr. O'Sullivan? So I ask my councilman, Matt Swanson, to please forward these $250,000 reports. They're in your county email box.
Thank you, Mr. Dean.
And I ask that you do that under Chapter 610, Mr. Swanson.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
That's all.
Okay, that ends public comments. Next on the agenda is an oral report from the county executive.
Not this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, sir. We will then take a look at the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda has been approved. Next, we have bills for final passage, but prior to that, I believe we have a motion.
A motion to amend the agenda to move Table Bill 5167 up forefront.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will now be dealing with the tabled bill, which is actually substitute bill number 5167.
Substitute Bill Number 5167, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District per application RZ 23-01.
Okay, questions or comments? Mr. Brazel.
I'd like to start, guys. On this map that was up here earlier, the gentleman, Mr. Crane, that put it together, it is helpful because it actually shows 27 different commercial building zoning areas that are all sporadic throughout this region. So actually it supports the fact that this is not unusual to have commercial businesses, as it is called spot zoning, that are good use for the area. So this actually, I would think, supports it because there's a lot of them throughout this whole corridor where they're kind of thrown about.
So I wanted to point that out. And I also want to point out the fact that you folks are coming in. I do really appreciate it, and I do appreciate the fact that everyone supports this area and trying to protect it. I think that's a great thing. And I think it's really important when you come in, if they're trying to break the master plan when it comes to housing developments, 2 and 3 and 4 and 500 homes, which we're going to be seeing coming down the line too. So those are all important things to be doing what you're doing. However, on this particular issue, I just simply disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. It's because I've been out here a long time, lived out here over 30 years. That little house was, quite frankly, a dumpy little house. And it was there for a long time. And the gentleman who had a bunch of riding lawnmowers, a bunch of junk, and a bunch of crap all around it. He had some junk cars. It was not a nice looking house. It really wasn't. And so when the tornado came December 10th of last year, it tore that house down. And so the Winklers took an opportunity to buy that corner and leave the foundation and the existing septic tank and tear this house down and put a barn facility looking structure on it that fits into the ag tourism. And so our area is dotted with hedge marks, which is for ag tourism, and this business is right down that lane. It's agricultural. They're putting in a barn looking building, and it's going to be a local meat shop that they're growing right down. They have the cows right down Highway F. It's ragu. I think that's how you say it. Ragu. Yeah, and even the wineries want to start purchasing from them, so that's important. It's local commerce. They're going to be selling eggs and all kinds of different stuff from different farmers, honey and all kinds of stuff. This is people. According to the signatures, there were 400 something signatures on it. And I understand the folks that live over there. What do you got, 20 signatures or whatever? But I mean, this is just how this process works, guys. I mean, there's just a lot of people that are in favor of this thing, and I'm one of them. I think it's a good choice for this use of land. So I'm going to support this. And the Winklers are hardworking farm people, and they got a couple hundred cows. They got some down in Miller County and some here, and so this is what we support is tourism, and we support agriculture. So I think this is a good use of the property.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Mr. Baker?
I just want to add, with a 1 acre lot, they're not able to sell to like a Quick Trip or a strip mall, not on 1 acre, because you won't be able to get a septic tank that's going to be able to service on that. As I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 3 acres for a septic, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Meyer?
Meyer?
Any newly created parcel that's going to be served by an on-site sewage treatment system has to be a minimum of 3 acres. For existing parcels, the Building and Code Enforcement Division, on a case-by-case basis, can go down as small as 1 acre. In this case, they have 2 parcels contiguous to each other, and combined is slightly more than 1 acre. It's right at 1 acre. So there's no guarantee that an on-site sewage treatment system will work, but more than likely they'll be able to design a system that will work on 1 acre, although it'll be really tight.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot that can fit on a 1 acre parcel, so they can probably have a small building and their on-site sewage treatment system.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like one of those old Fox Photo little pop-up things is all that could fit on something like this. But thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. I do want to remind folks that because of the remonstrance, is that correct? 5 votes will be required in order to pass this.
Yes,
Okay,
that is
thank
correct. Substitute Bill Number 5167, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District per application RZ 23-01. Councilmember Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
No.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Okay, the bill passes, and we now will move on to bills for final passage, beginning with Bill Number 5175.
Bill Number 5175, an ordinance, 1, authorizing the amendment of the St. Louis Home Consortium Consolidated Plan 2016 through 2020, and amending the 2019 Annual Action Plan for St. Charles County, Missouri, in its capacity as an urban county under the Community Development Block Grant Program of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, And 2, authorizing the county executive to execute all related documents, certifications, and contracts.
Okay, questions or comments on bill number 5175? Seeing none, please call the
What'd you
roll.
say? Hey, you got something to say?
That's Mr. Brass?
keep it-
Fine.
Stay in order.
Okay.
What'd
Bill
you say
number
to Ron?
5175, and ordinance 1, authorizing the amendment of the St. Louis Home Consortium Consolidated Plan 2016 through 2020, and amending the 2019 Annual Action Plan for St. Charles County, Missouri in its capacity as an urban county under the Community Development Block Grant Program of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, and 2, authorizing the county executive to execute all related documents, certifications, and contracts. Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Bill number 5175 passes. The next bill for final passage is bill number 5176.
Bill number 5176, an ordinance granting the Great Rivers Greenway District a license to install a portable restroom at the Trailhead parking lot off Research Park Drive.
Questions or comments? Yes,
Super
Mr.
quick
Swanson.
question, Ryan.
Sure.
What's the estimated date that it'll be installed? Or when will it actually be completed?
I'm not actually putting it in, so we're just granting, they've been wanting it in for a while, so I'm not exactly how fast they're planning on putting it up there.
6 months, a year?
Well, I'm assuming less than that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, please call the roll.
Yes.
An ordinance granting the Great Rivers Greenway District a license to install a portable restroom at the Trailhead parking lot off Research Park Drive. Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Okay, bill number 5176 passes. That ends bills for final passage, and we will now have bills for introduction, starting with 5177.
Bill number 5177, requested by Michael Herbert, sponsored by Matt Swanson, an ordinance of the County of St. Charles, Missouri approving variances for the Grove at Riverdale subdivision.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we move on to bill number 5178.
Bill number 5178, requested by John Lyon, sponsored by Joe Brazel, an ordinance approving an agreement with the Missouri Department of Transportation for the Dewello Road Phase 2 project.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we will move on to bill number 5179.
Bill number 5179, an ordinance approving an agreement with the Missouri Department of Transportation for Hepperman Road Phase 2 project.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we move on to bill number 5180.
Bill number 5180, requested by John Lyon, sponsored by Joe Brazel, an ordinance approving an agreement with the Missouri Department of Transportation for the project on Hopewell Road.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we move on to bill number 5181.
Bill number 5181, requested by John Lyon, sponsored by Matt Swanson and Tim Baker, an ordinance approving an agreement with the Missouri Department of Transportation for asphalt overlay on major streets.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we move on to bill number 5182.
Bill number 5182, requested by Amanda Brower, sponsored by Matt Swanson, an ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Wentzville for design and right-of-way for the future construction of David Heckel Parkway Phase 3.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we move on to bill number 5183.
Bill number 5183, requested by Dr. Mary Case, sponsored by Terry Hollander, an ordinance authorizing the county executive or his designee to execute contract amendment number 006 for autopsy services with the Missouri Department of Social Services for child death autopsy services.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we move on to bill number 5184.
Bill number 5184, requested by Brenda Hinton, sponsored by Terry Hollander, an ordinance waiving liquor license fees for certain concessions operations of the Parks and Recreation Department of the City of St. Charles for the period July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, moving on to bill number 5185.
Bill number 5185, requested by Chief Kurt Frizz, sponsored by Matt Swanson, Joe Brazel, Dave Hammond, and Tim Baker, an ordinance amending Section 605.090 and 605.140 ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, concerning the uniforms of commissioned police officers.
Okay, questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, we move on to the last bill for introduction, Bill number 5186.
Bill number 5186, requested by Kurt Friz, sponsored by Terry Hollander, an ordinance amending Section 115.710 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri to establish the position of Manager of Cyber Intelligence, authorizing the county executive to execute an agreement for a subway agreement with East West Gateway Council of Governments, and amending Ordinance 22-087, Budget of St. Charles County to recognize the additional revenue from this grant and establish the grant-funded position in the police department.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, that concludes the bills for introduction. Are there any announcements, miscellaneous, that anyone would like to comment on? Yes, Mr. Baker.
Yeah, I just want to say, I got to spend the day with our fantastic Parks Director a week and a half ago, and we really, and thank you, Steve, and the administration, you guys have really put together a fine park system for being such a young park system. So I'm very proud of it, and I know Ryan is, and I encourage all the citizens to visit our fine parks. So thank you, Ryan, Steve, everybody.
Yes, definitely. Mr. Hammond.
I just want to say, you know, when individuals come up and then they're criticizing somebody for doing their job, the county attorney, by state law, if you request information under the Sunshine Act, and there's a fee involved in that for the people that have to put it together, and if you don't want to pay the fee, you're not going to get the information. That's all there is to it. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No, sir. Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Thanks for coming.